Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
I'm Jim Hutchinson with a New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. If you watched last week's video, you know that I've been referencing DEFCON 2 on the nuclear striper scale for weeks. But I said last week, quote, I'm hoping for a level 1 over the next 24 hours. As Warner Wolf used to say, let's go to the videotape. Friday, offshore winds, north country, bunker came in tight, nosing against the westerlies. Found my way to one of my favorite little stretches this time of year. Folks lined up in the glassy conditions with boats running and gutting along the outside. It was awesome. If you're not a people person, don't like crowds, the daytime bite ain't for you. Multiple hookups throughout this Monmouth County stretch. Just about all that I saw were on top waters. Pencils and spooks, a few metal lip fish along the way. Occasionally, the bass would cycle around to the north and then back to the south again, but other times, if you're on them, even if you don't see the blow-ups in front of you, just standing your ground in that spot was good for fish after fish, cast after cast. There's a variety of bait for bass, and bluefin, I would add, to munch on right now. But again, as I noted last week, west is the best when all this bunker is around. Someone asked on YouTube, a follow-up post at our YouTube channel last week, they said, I thought east-northeast winds were the best. Sure, to get that ocean water all undulating and throwing all kinds of baits and crabs and everything in the mix. But with acres of bunker that tend to swim up against the wind, that offshore blow from the west at the Jersey shore puts everything right at our feet. And that's good for getting the young ones into an epic fishery and making memories for a lifetime. I bumped into young Hayes here and asked how big he thought this fish was.
How big do you think it is?
I think it's 100 meters.
Well, it wasn't quite 100 meters. But quality fish for a fine young man. That's Hayes Wilson with his buddy Henry Smith showing off their Friday striper. Well done, boys. One of the bigger fish that I saw during this particular Friday session was Joseph Picarello's 44-incher on a topwater. I threw a couple of swim shads into this mix just to see if they would work. But these fish seem to really want the topwaters. Again, walk the dog like spooks, the pencils, some metal lips. Certainly the Polaris-style popper will take some fish as well. This is a nice, healthy release for Joseph. Then on Saturday, next day, I hit the drive-up beaches of Ocean County, a little closer to home, found acres and acres of bunker in the wash, a picket fence of happy and mostly courteous surfcasters lined up, casting due east and fighting fish into their little box of ocean turf. Keep those retrieves going right up until the lip. Because you never know where the bass are feeding. Obviously, if you know the bass are feeding 30 yards off, you just keep focusing your attention there. But I was tossing a game on spook that I watched sometimes come right back up to the lip, right where the wash was crashing in my feet, watching stripers chasing those spooks all the way in. I mean, we're talking about a sick amount of bunker. It's like a Menhaden stew. And in some instances where those pogies were so thick, you'd think they were going to get ambushed hard. It was outside or beyond that mass of bait where most of the stripers were being caught. And at some point, I saw a stack of bunker to my right, and then another one to my left, and right in between, a pocket of sand, nothing but sand eels. But when you see this line of whitewater coming at you from the east, the nervous energy kicks in. You're hoping that bunker-busting madness will ensue, and striped bass will, in fact, push those bunker to your feet. I'm sorry, didn't really shoot any more video at that point. These can be blind squirrel moments, and I too wish to gather a nut or two in my travels. Put the video camera down at times. I'll try harder this weekend to shoot more and cast less. It's November 14th, and the fall run, I guess, is officially underway here at the Jersey Shore. It's been, of course, for some time now, but it's just getting more interesting, more intense. as we lead into what I hope will be a few Thanksgiving Day massacres later on into this month. I will say, I was sent this photo on Wednesday morning. Conditions picked up again in the North Country, and there's that swim shad, a swim shad fish that I told you, a white Tsunami swim shad. Didn't have any luck around the bunker schools this past weekend, but maybe, perhaps we're shifting gears in that fall fishery. Just got to be prepared. As you're planning the rest of this week into the weekend by beach or boat, the National Weather Service indicates another round of offshore winds in the days ahead. Northwest, perhaps cool things off a little bit more, push more of the bait out the inlets, and leave those bunker schools nosing up into the wind, against the wind, Friday into this weekend. Hopefully we remain at DEFCON 1 and tight in the next several days, and hopefully throughout the month of November. So let's dissect one of these bunker schools real quick, if we could. This one is a couple of 100 yards off the Ocean County beaches last week. Incredible video, drone footage from my friend Tom Lynch at Angry Fish Gallery in Point Pleasant. You should go Christmas shopping there, I'll tell you that right now. If you see that big fish in the middle of the school, Tom said it's one of the largest stripers he's ever recorded in one of these drones. I'm thinking 50, possibly 60, but it's really hard to get a reference. Tom was trying to reference that big fish against the smaller fish to see just how big it is, but those other predators in the mix weren't smaller stripers, they're spiny dogfish. And the spinies have become a critical nuisance, especially for those on boats thinking they've got good marks on their machine under the bunker schools or while sea bass fishing. By beach, too, the night shifters have been frustrated by the doggies, which seem tighter to the beaches under cover of dark. I'll tell you, when you look at that Angry Fish Gallery video, it really makes me wonder how many times this has happened. I'm looking at schools of happy bunker. They're not blowing up like that bunker school. They're not blowing up, and I'm thinking, there's no fish on this bunker school. But you could clearly see that giant fish in there just cruising along, waiting for a matter of time before he decides he wants to start eating. Spiny dogfish. They have become more than a nuisance. I think they're a plague on the ecosystem in general. In the weekly Tsunami photo contest over at the LBI Surf Fishing Classic Facebook page, Joe Stewart, badge number 398, he won himself a 9-foot Tsunami Airwave Elite surf rod and a package of Tsunami holographic swim shads for this spiny spotlight image on a bunker chunk. 20 years ago, there was a really good market on these spiny dogfish. Commercial fishermen here in our area were catching spinies. They were shipping them overseas to the United Kingdom where they used them for fish and chips. They also served them smoked at some of those German beer gardens. Then an environmentalist named Sonia Fordham made saving these spiny critters her life's work, despite the headline generating input from commercial fishing folks, something I think many recreational fishermen can now understand. So there's presently a hard cap on what the commercial sector can catch, land, and sell, to the point that the overseas market has said, listen, guys, we're finding our fish and chips elsewhere. So it's really been very difficult. The overseas folks found another supplier, so the Brits didn't need as many of our fish and chips spiny dogfish as they did. But then last week, I mentioned I was going to the New Jersey Marine Fisheries Council. Not too much was happening, but one thing they talked about was the enviros have apparently pushed so hard to keep spiny dogfish at a certain biomass that the federal government is considering another cut to the commercial sector. The problem is there's just one processor, one East Coast spiny dogfish processor right now. And if they were to cut the harvest any more, even by a little bit, it's not enough to keep that processing plant in business. That could actually throw them out of operation. So this might be one of those times where we in the recreational community are standing up for our commercial sector folks and saying, go ahead and harvest some more spiny dogfish. Cheerio, pip pip, and all that good stuff. Outside of the spinies, 'tis the season for good stripers. Our thumbnail image of the week is Tony D'Angelo with his new personal best in the surf over the weekend, 44-incher on a topwater pencil. Here are another couple of recognizable names. Nick Konacheski of Saltwater Underground and the Fisherman magazine got himself a 48-incher over the weekend, not far from him. Shell E. Karras also scored a good fish, 49 inches. I believe that was a quick flurry late last week, but Nick and Shell were there at the right place and at the right time. Of course, you can find Nick at Saltwater Underground on YouTube and Nick Honachevsky on Instagram. You'll also find Nick every week in our monthly issue and doing our Beach Talk report at thefisherman.com. This week is our 37th issue of the year. The December edition makes 38. That's it. We'll be out next week, and then we're on a weekly digital edition hiatus until the spring. So it's just your monthlies. It's December, January, February, March, and then April. But we're also giving you those bi-weekly updates as well. So you'll continue to get news twice a week, and you'll continue to get this video all the way through the year. We never stop doing the video ever, so there's still a lot to do. Quick look at this week's cover pretty much says it all. First, I'll mention the Blackfish limits. In New Jersey, go to 5 fish this Saturday, November 16th. This is great news for the charter and headboat fleet. The captains who are sailing east and finally being able to put together a pretty good score on tog at those reefs and wrecks. But the inshore and back bay Blackfish bite continues. Bridges, jetties, the canal. Nico Dufkus, he nailed nearly a dozen tog on Friday, terra firma. He used a tog jig with fish bites, believe it or not. Had a couple of keepers in the mix as well. So that's another solid option. You have better chances if you're jumping on a boat and heading east, hitting some of those wrecks and reefs, but there's still plenty of Blackfish opportunities from shore. In fact, from our South Jersey reports, once again this week, it's still epic, on fire, and it's banging from Atlantic City. That's the way Noel at One Stop Bait and Tackle reports it. So while I know from LBI North to Sandy Hook, your options for scoring personal best striped bass are much better in these blind squirrel nut conditions. But Andy at Riptide Bait and Tackle in Brigantine over the weekend, he said one of his hardcore regulars, Hans, scored an impressive striped bass along the Absecon Inlet rocks on a swim shad. That's great news. You got to think that waves of stripers, because they do seem to come in waves, right? There's a wave of 30-pounders, and then they're kind of down the beach, and then there's another wave of 20-pounders, and we saw the 40s. I think there's still big fish coming. The South Shore of Long Island is still very good right now. Maybe with those west winds, everything pushes against the wind, and we get more waves of stripers. But there are stripers filtering down the beaches of South Jersey as well. And I'll keep you, I'll just remind you that in years past, when we have these milder falls and milder winters, that striper bite doesn't even really catch fire in Atlantic and Cape May County until sometime in December. You can certainly get a few stripers in the inlets and back bays in Atlantic and Cape May County right now, but again, expect this run to continue all the way into 2025. The last I checked on the ocean water temperatures, Ocean City on Wednesday morning, I was looking at surf-forecast.com, figure they got to have the right temperatures there, guys that are going to be putting on wetsuits to paddle out. But anyway, Wednesday, around low tide, the temperature was 60 degrees, which is still on the high side for this time of year, roughly 6.5 degrees or so warmer than what it should be. So we've got milder temperatures, and there appear to be milder air temperatures heading into the weekend as well. It's great time to get these kids, as I referenced before, into this bite in the surf, because a lot of times those stripers are right there in our feet. On this week's Open Boat, Jenni Ackerman has an inspiring story that captures the true spirit of our fishing community. Yeah, it's busy and crowded at times, but we're often trying to get the new folks into fishing and our culture and passing it down from one generation to the next.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. And today on this week's Open Boat, I want to take a minute to go over a story that really hit with me this weekend. This is, to sum it up, this is what the fishing community is all about, especially with surfcasters. That's such a tight-knit community. And the big thing for me is I see it as a fishing community and not a fishing competition. So this story of people coming together and helping others get on fish really, really, really stands out. And I'd love to see and hear about more of these stories as the fall run continues. So let's get into it. This happened on Sunday in Ocean County. I was actually there, but I was late to the party, so I didn't see it happen, but I heard from a lot of the local legends were there, a lot of surfcasters were there. There was basically just one small pod of bunker, not really a whole lot going on because the past couple of days they really gorged on adult bunker, like blitz condition fishing, the first time we've seen that the fall run season this year. But going back to the story, a lot of the guys were just sitting around watching this school of adult bunker literally in the wash, and they're throwing metal libs at it. There's nothing really hanging out in it, and Shelly Karras is there. I've done interviews with him. He's a local legend surfcaster. He's been fishing for a very, very, very long time. And he knew what to throw to get a fish out of this small pod. So he goes to his truck and he gets a legal snag rig, which you'll see it has an egg sinker and it has a circle hook. And he snags one of these bunkers and pitches it out and he gets on a fish. So after that, he does it again and he sees, like I said, there's a whole group of people there. Little Miss Stella here, who we have a video of, she's starting to cast. She's getting better at casting. She can almost cast better than I can cast with a metal lib, working it in this pod. So Shelly passes the rod off to her and she gets a fish on this legal snag rig. So that's absolutely phenomenal. That's green flag #1 with the fishing community there, helping little kids get on fish. But where the story really comes together, a little ways down the beach, there's a gentleman sitting there, mind you, in a very dapper Yankees jacket. Love to see it. Go Yanks. Sitting there, just working a rod while he's sitting, and Shelly, I talked to him. He says that he's walking with a cane. He's really struggling to walk on the beach in a cane, and he's casting from his chair, and he actually had a striper follow in his pencil popper. But they wanted to help this guy out. Clearly they saw that he was, struggling with, just physical setbacks. So everyone came together and they wanted to help him out. So Shelly set up the same thing, the legal snag rig with a live bunker, and a lot of guys were there that helped this guy just stand, and he got onto a fish. And you can see in the picture here, we have Andrew Carey, another awesome surfcaster, helping him fight this fish. And they bring it in, and they have this beautiful picture of just a very nice, healthy, chunky striped bass hooked right in the corner of its mouth. That's what the legal snag rigs are all about. And just looking at these pictures, you see the smile on this guy's face. You could tell it just made his whole day.
Great job, man.
When I heard the story on Sunday, and I'm getting a little emotional about it now, it did bring a tear to my eye. And the guys that were there, hanging out all at their trucks, grown men brought to tears by this, because that's just something that everyone should be doing. If you see someone out there that's struggling, or they're just not as capable as you are with fishing, help them out. I always look for, especially with blitz fishing, there's a lot more people out there. If I see a kid that can't cast into where the fish are or anything, I'll literally cast my rod and hand it off to them. And having them hook up and seeing the smile on their face is the best thing ever. Literally, there's times, and I heard this from everyone who was there on Sunday, where they would rather have that one fish that they see that guy catch than catch 1,000 fish to themselves. Because where if you're catching, maybe you have a day where you caught 20 fish, okay, that's a good day. That one fish that guy caught could be the fish of a lifetime. That created a core memory with not even just him, but everyone who was there to experience it. And that's a lot of good karma. And that's something I want to see continuing on with the fall run season, or just fishing in general. Be the change that you want to see. That's my favorite quote. Help others, help them get on fish, help them with lures or anything that they need set up. If you see someone and you want to help them, just please do it. Don't just stand there and just flex that you're catching fish. Help others around you. That's the biggest thing with being part of the surfcaster fishing community. You know, you could act all like tough and hard and stuff, but there's a difference between the people that just catch fish for a living and the difference between people who help people catch fish for a living. That's a big thing that I'm all about. And I really hope that as the fall run continues, more of these stories start to come to light. And if you want to share them with me, you can email me at jackerman@thefisherman.com. Share with me these stories because I want to hear more, because a lot of this should be happening more. More positivity out there on the surf, more helping others, and more group encouragement. Come together as a surfcaster fishing community and help others get on fish. That's the big thing. Be the change you want to see. I love to see it, and we should be seeing more of it. More positivity out there in the fishing community. So that's that. Next week, we're gonna go back into the Surfcasters Challenge, but if you wanna get a head start, I know a lot of you guys have adult bunker out there. You're gonna wanna be throwing one of these. So that's your hint if you wanna get a head start, and go out there and be mindful of the people around you. If you see someone struggling or trying their hardest to get on fish, help them out. It takes 2 seconds to help someone out, and if they get onto a fish, it's the most rewarding experience, not only for just your life, but for their life too. So help others and be the change you want to see. And I'll see you guys out there on the surf because it's getting really good. So look for the pink beanie.
Now, until December 31st, Tsunami is giving away a Salt X waterproof backpack when you purchase a new Salt X2 reel. With its 19 seals and machined aluminum frame, the rugged Salt X2 can conquer any fishing condition you may face. Check out the QR code for all the details.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Bluefin tuna action has been nothing short of remarkable so far this season, and we should have a great run mid-range, inshore, and offshore for the next month. I've seen them busting on bait just outside the surf line. I've gotten word from other folks that they've seen these. I've heard stories of guys live lining in the bunker schools and getting spooled. And I know from Sandy Hook to Cape May, these bluefin are in close. They're on the feed. In fact, I ate part of this guy earlier this week. Thank you, neighbor Ryan. Get your HMS permit. I think it's only like $27 for the boat. So just in case you do stumble into these bluefin, you're ready to go, because if you put a bluefin on the boat and you don't have an HMS permit, you can't really take it home, because if you get busted back at the dock for not having a highly migratory species permit and being in possession of a bluefin tuna, it's a huge fine. So you want to make sure you're geared up for this fishery. We'll wrap up this week's video fishing forecast with some upcoming events and a few late striper tips. But first, let's head west to the Poconos. Check in with my friend George Schauer, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, I thought I'd take a ride down the lake here. We've been hearing all kinds of reports of really low water, slow water on the creeks and rivers. And I'll tell you what, the water here is down several feet here at Beltsville, my home lake. You know, my good friend Josh Taylor, he actually sent me this picture of him and his boat. Well, his boat was sitting there on dry ground, what would normally be about 6-7 feet of water. So really impacting things here. As you can see, there's nobody in the parking lot behind me, so nobody's out taking a chance getting any fishing done. Now, a couple of guys are getting things. You know, actually, Josh did get out, and he did manage to get his clients on a couple of stripers, but I think he has probably been the only boat out here as far as fishing goes. Other guys trying things up on the Delaware, you know, still low and slow there, but they are catching some fish. Charles Raphael checked in. He got a couple of bass on a mega bass glide bait, also some Kytex. So those kind of presentations are working. Also, Chris Matchison checked in. He was fishing down in Chester County. Some of those deep pools, you know, they might hold some trout. He managed to pull about a dozen browns and rainbows out of some of those deeper pools the other day. And that's probably some of the best fishing I've heard of over the last few days here in the freshwater. So I don't see any big rain in sight, guys. So I don't know how much longer they'll be drawing this water down, trying to keep things moving. But I think we're in for a very, very interesting late season. We'll see how things go. I hope you get out and get on them. If you do, let me know. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
you catch these. They're nuts. Tautog! Battle 4.
Don't forget your PFD. If you're heading out on a boat in New Jersey under 26 feet in length, maybe run and gun stripers, or you're hitting the sea bass grounds, the Blackfish grounds, or maybe Bluefin, you must be wearing that Coast Guard approved personal flotation device, PFD, while you're underway. Just like the Eugenio boys here, Steve and Dave. I grew up in a football coach's home, the same as the Eugenio boys do. We follow the rules, or we take a penalty. And then not only the penalty, but Coach Eugenio, he makes me run apple course. So be an illegal eagle, follow that rule. I talked up this PFD rule in each of the last 2 weeks. I may give another reminder or two along the way, as I know quite a few folks don't stay up on the regulations, the news, and information that you need. I wonder sometimes too if folks understand the snag and drop rule as well. You're not allowed to snag and drop. You're not allowed to use one of these weighted treble hooks to snag your bunker and then leave the bunker to swim on this treble hook. It's no longer allowed. You've got to transfer this over to a circle hook. So you can't fish a bunker on here. It's not allowed. You're a scoundrel. You're committing a crime. I mentioned that as well last week when I was talking up that circle snag rig that's available at shops like the Real Seat in Brielle. So anyway, on Friday afternoon, I'm talking to this guy on the beach. We're surf fishing together, and he starts mentioning the fact that, yeah, he came down from Philly. He spent all day, dawn to dusk, catching fish. We met just before dusk, and he said, yeah, we were snagging and dropping some fish. And if you ever see me in that situation, my eyes glaze over because I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then all of a sudden, he pulls this rig from his bag. He wants to show me the snag rig. And I was like, oh my God. He goes, no, I'm snagging and dropping with the circle hook snag rig that I got from Scotty at Grumpy's Tackle. So I was like, oh my God, that's great. So it's really cool to hear more people doing that. I bumped into Dylan from Gabriel Tackle on Saturday. He said the same thing, pulled out a snag rig with a circle hook. And I said, Dylan, send me a photo. Next fish you catch. I want to prove to folks that you can catch stripers on a legal circle hook snag rig. And there you go. They work. They're legal. And they're better for reduced mortality on released striped bass. So if you can't catch a striper out of a bunker school, unless you're snagging and dropping, get rid of the treble and get one of these circle hook snag rigs at your local tackle shop. A reminder here, in New Jersey, black sea bass limits are up to 15 fish as of November 1st, and plenty of headboat options up and down the coast if you're stocking up for your Thanksgiving bounty. Blackfish or tautog, that does go to a 5-fish limit this Saturday. If you're a Fisherman subscriber, do not forget about the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. As it stands today, November 14th, with about 2 weeks left in the contest, a 4.8-pound black sea bass would put you at the very tip top of that species category with 10 points. A 7-pound blackfish is all you need to get on the board in the tog division. Even if you're headboat fishing this weekend, ask the crew, don't cut that one, it's a big one, I'll cut that one later. Bring that fish back to your local tackle shop for weigh-in. You might earn a big score in the Fisherman Magazine's 2024 Dreamboat Fishing Challenge.
Time is running out and only 2 weeks left. Scott Waterman of Canterbury, Connecticut tried to add to his point total to catch Kyle Kraus of Cutchogue, Long Island, weighing in a porgy, but it was just shy of making the leaderboard. Ahmed Solomon has 19 points, Scott Waterman with 24, and Kyle Kraus has 36 points. To be part of the Dreamboat contest and win that Steigercraft powered by Yamaha and many other great prizes, you must be a Fisherman subscriber to enter. For all the details, how to enter, and the rules, visit thefisherman.com. There were no new entries in the Coastal Kayak Clash this week, so the standings remain the same. Todd Treones has 4 points, Bob Wagner has 9 points, and Justin Oser has 10 points. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash and for your chance to win the Old Town Sportsman PDL 120, fully outfitted by yakattack.com and other great prizes, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. For all the details on how to enter and rules, visit thefisherman.com.
Now, if you're not a people person, you don't like crowds, I advise you to pick away at striped bass in Atlantic and Cape May County. They're there. And no disrespect to the folks that are already picking away at those fish down South Jersey without any crowds. It's a lot quieter down that way. It's a pick, you got to struggle, but those fish are there. Pretty much because so many of the folks from throughout the state, from the west and the south, are coming up to the northern stretch above Long Beach Island and above, to take advantage of this bedlam, that madness and mayhem. It is something to behold. So yeah, you really should experience it at one point. And with the northwest west winds forecast for this weekend, I'm forecasting blitz conditions on Saturday. And this Saturday is Party with Your Bear Day, National Party with Your Bear Day. So if you see me on the beach with Pink Bear here, this belongs to my daughter Samantha. Samantha left her teddy bear at home when she went and got herself a job in the big city. She's in her 20s. I don't think she needs Pink Bear anymore. But I recently threatened to take Pink Bear with me on a tour of New Jersey. I was going to hit gin joints and have Pink Bear with me at the gin joints. But if you see me on Saturday taking a picture with Pink Bear here, it's National Teddy Bear Day Saturday, the National Teddy Bear Blitz, and Pink Bear is going to get photographed and sent to my daughter Samantha in New York City. It's going to be a good weekend for blitzes. I really think so. By boat, best conditions just off the beach this week come Saturday and Sunday, which of course is a weekend. So expect to have a few friends, expect to have that fleet, and more madness and mayhem on several fronts. Everybody's just got to remember to have a little bit of patience and understanding this time of year. So take a deep breath and enjoy the ride. Catch 'em up. I'll see you on the beach.